out there, YouTube? What's going on, guys? It is D Dun here, the most chill COD player, and today is the well, maybe not long awaited, but a video that I'm really excited to bring you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It'll most likely be probably my longest video, maybe ever, because I have a lot of stuff to talk about. What you're going to be watching in the background is all the leftover KEM strikes I have that I don't have time to post before Advanced Warfare comes out, which is I think 10 days away now. And so what I did is I made a little compilation, if you will, a montage of all my KEM strikes back to back to back to back to back. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be about 72 KEM strikes. As I edit it down, at the moment we're sitting at 42 minutes. I don't think this this commentary is going to be 42 minutes long. At least I hope not, because I know no one's going to want to sit through 42 minutes of my monotone voice. Uh, but um, but hopefully you guys do stick around. And basically, what we're going to talk about today is ghosts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Um, I want to talk about all the good things, all the bad things, and of course, all the worst things about Call of Duty Ghosts. Give you guys my honest, straightforward opinion. Um, I think I have 20 days, which isn't the most I've ever had in any Call of Duty by any stretch, but it's quite a bit. And I played it through the end. I really enjoyed it, and I've stayed pretty positive on my channel. I like to think about ghosts. Um, which I know a lot of channels haven't, and I'm really proud of that. But hopefully, you guys, will just listen to what I have to say, even if you think Ghost is trash or whatever. Um, you know, hopefully, maybe you can at least gain a new perspective from my thoughts. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and drop into the good of Call of Duty Ghosts. Alright, so the first thing that I have to mention, the first thing that came to mind was the connection. I know a lot of people said the connection was booty, and you see clips on YouTube of lots of lagging, crazy stuff. I know that they promised us dedicated servers, but I mean, I can't even remember the last time that I got a host migration, which would make me think that there were dedicated servers. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that dedicated servers will not give you lag-free game. It won't give you a perfect connection every single time. It just means that for the most part, the connections will be fairly even and fairly stable, and there won't be host migrations. So I think overall it was really good. None of this crazy bullshit with lag compensation like in previous Call of Duties, where you shoot someone 10 times and then you get melted. There were some cases where if the connection was a little bit rough, you would get melted in what seemed like a couple bullets, and you didn't have time to react. And but those games, I feel like were pretty few and far between. I think for the most part, the connections were really good. Even if you disagree, I think it would be really hard for anyone to say that the connection was better in Black Ops 2 or in Modern Warfare 3 or even Black Ops 1. So for the past three consecutive Call of Duties, we've had games with really unstable and, quite frankly, just really not good hit detection and connections. And for the first time in 3 years, we've had that. And I was really, really happy with it. I hope this carries over into Advanced Warfare, especially with all the added movement stuff. So next thing on my list here is gun balance. Once again, some people may disagree and say that pretty much all you saw was like the Vector, the Remington, the Honey Badger, maybe the MTAR when the first game came out. And to an extent, I think that's true. There were some guns that just weren't very good. Like the ARX, I think is the one that really pops out to me. That was a gun that never really got a buff and probably should have. And I know it took a long time for them to buff the SMGs, but they did, and I think they're all pretty viable. I think the one thing that you have to remember, and a lot of things that people forget, is gun balance doesn't mean that every gun is good in every situation. I mean, that's kind of a philosophy that you saw like maybe in Modern Warfare 2 or MW3, where you could use the MP7 in any situation, the ACR in any situation, and they were good. Um, I think they were balanced because the SMGs were good up close, the assault rifles were good from medium to long range, and the LMGs were good at long range along with the sniper rifles. So I would say the guns were balanced. I think the Honey Badger, I know a lot of people say the Honey Badger is overpowered, but it's really not. It really isn't. It has a decent amount of visual recoil as well as normal recoil. I mean, I know there's not like a ton of spread on the bullets, but there's a decent amount. And The one thing is just the iron sights are really good, and it comes with a silencer, so it's just kind of an overused gun. But I don't think it was overpowered. If anything, you could argue that the M27 is overpowered. I would say with rapid fire it was overpowered. Um, and we'll get to some other things about the M27 later. I think the M27 was by far the strongest gun in the game, and probably one of the strongest guns we've ever seen in Call of Duty. So maybe that would be the one gun that was OP, but I think for the most part, all the guns were pretty well balanced. Let's see, what's next? Perk balance. I think the perks were really good in this game. This was the first Call of Duty in a really long time that we had anything close to stopping power and Juggernaut, which I think it's kind of funny because once again, you hear a lot of people say, they need to bring back stopping power and Juggernaut, but I mean, in all reality, you had Deadeye, which was a pretty good and balanced version of stopping power, and you had ICU, which I think is the most underrated perk in Call of Duty Ghost. I think is just probably one of the best perks that have ever come to Call of Duty, in my opinion. I think it was great. I run it on every single class, no matter what. So, and I think there were just like a lot of good perks. I think there was a lot of really useless perks that probably shouldn't have been in there. A lot of those 1 point perks were just a little silly. I think they just should have been integrated into other perks. But in addition to that, I think they also balanced the stealth perks really well, which I know after like Modern Warfare 3 and stuff, a lot of people were, and Black Ops 1, a lot of people were really, really angry about the stealth perks, and I think Call of Duty US did great. Pretty much all of the stealth perks were 3 point perks except for Blind Eye, but like Incognito and Off the Grid were both 3 point perks, not to mention um, whatever that 1 point perk is that removes the death skull. So essentially, if you wanted to be completely stealthy, you would have to use a 9 points of your perks to be completely off the radar. Not to mention the SATCOM system was really really good. I actually really enjoyed that. I know that a lot of people say the UAV speeds the game up, but I think what happens a lot is that when there's the traditional UAV, people see red dots, and so they just run to a corner, wait for the red dot to walk by, and then kill them. So to me, it kind of slows down the game a little bit, but you may disagree. But overall, I thought the perks were really well. Um, Dead Silence canceled out Amplify, so on and so forth. So I think those two are pretty balanced. I know technically that Dead Silence doesn't beat out or doesn't completely silence you against Amplify. But if you play any game mode like Domination or anything where there's a lot going on, explosions and gunshots and the announcer and stuff, you really can't hear it. So I thought they were really balanced. So just overall, perk balance was really really good in the game, with the with the exception of one perk, and we'll get to that later once we get to the ugly section. But moving on, let's see. We had Specialist. I thought Specialist was a really great addition. Bringing it back from Modern Warfare 3. I think it could have been better. I really do think it could have been better. The point system, the way they had for perks, wasn't bad, but it just made that Specialist bonus take you so long, and then it felt like a lot of times the reward you got at the end wasn't necessarily worth it. Because a lot of the really good standard perks were 2 point perks. At your bonus, you were allowed 8 points, so that gave you 4 perks, which really wasn't that much. Not to mention, it pretty much kills any time you want to use a perk with an odd number. So like a 3 point perk, say like Off the Grid, it pretty much kills you because then you just have to waste a space with a random 1 point perk. So that kind of sucked, but I'm glad it came back. I think it was fun to use. It was definitely pretty balanced compared to the Modern Warfare 3 version, but I think it could have been improved. But overall, I think it was a good addition for the game. Let's see, Kill Streak 2 perk and attachment balance. Um, that might make that might not make sense whenever I say it, but basically what I mean is there was pretty much a counter to everything, except for Danger Close, which we'll get to in the ugly section, like I said. But overall, previous to this, like in Modern Warfare 3, there was nothing that you could use to counter ballistic vests. In this game, you had APC rounds. Same with the dog and other kill streaks. Have a class with an APC round. If they're using IEDs and stuff, use Blast Shield. If they're using Oracles, then use Blind Eye. Like you had all these perks to offset the other kill streaks and stuff in the game. So I think that was really good. It was nice that you could actually have multiple classes to balance other people's play styles, and I really enjoyed that. I think they did a good job there. Now I know this is going to surprise some of you guys, but I have the maps with an asterisk under the good. I think we actually saw a lot of really good maps. I know a lot of people say the map design really slowed down to the game, and to an extent I agree, but at the same time, when you look at maps like Warhawk or Octane, they're kind of the traditional three-lane maps. You could even argue that Flooded was a three-lane map, like traditional Call of Duty maps. I personally don't like them. I kind of like the way they were set up in Ghosts. It allowed you to maneuver the map. You could get across the map quickly if you understood the routes and knew the angles that you could take. But it did kind of divide people up. And I think whenever you have newbie players who don't understand the maps and don't put in the play time to understand the maps, what they do is they just find a corner or camp, and that kind of sucks for the rest of us. And but what are you going to do? Noobs camp, and that's just the way it's going to be in every Call of Duty. But personally, I enjoyed the maps for the most part. I thought they were pretty good. Of course, there were bad maps, but there were bad maps in every Call of Duty. I think probably the one that I really disliked the most was probably Chasm. Chasm was just a bad idea. I mean, I think it just had way too much verticality. You had, the underground, the middle, the top, the left, the right. It just is a clusterfuck, and definitely not good for 6v6 game modes. That was probably the worst map in Call of Duty history. But overall, I think most of the maps are pretty good. Even a lot of people, they said they hated Stonehaven, but I actually really like that map. The game, if you can get them, in a decent trap, you can. I mean, the game is really fast paced. The spawns are fairly predictable. I mean, I posted one Kim on there where I had 3 multi kills, like back to back to back on Stonehaven. Um, so don't tell me that that map sucks. I would disagree with you on that. Of course, when people camp, any map is slow, and you have that in every single Call of Duty ever. So I think Ghost just gets, a little bit of undue hate for that. But the one thing that Stonehaven didn't have is verticality. You didn't see these 2 and 3 story buildings and stuff. It was pretty flat, pretty straightforward, and there was plenty of cover in the middle of the map, so you could navigate the map really well and cut across it. Even though it was big, it was a big map. I feel like if you played it right, it would be pretty fast paced. So yeah. Moving on, we have sniping. Sniping, I think, was really balanced in this game. Now, they did say that quick scoping was removed from the game, and if I understand everything right, they didn't have auto aim on the snipers, which I think was really good. Also, it didn't zoom in super, super fast. Um, but I would say it was fairly balanced. I really enjoyed it. They didn't get too many hit markers, and snipers aren't supposed to really get too many hit markers. So I like that. They might have been a little bit too powerful, but you couldn't just spray from the hip and get tons of kills. You couldn't get ridiculous quick scopes across the map. So all in all, I think sniping was really good, and you definitely saw a lot less snipers since it was a little bit more difficult. I think they found a really good balance in Call of Duty Ghosts on sniping. It was good, but you had to be good to do it, and you couldn't abuse it. You couldn't just pick up a sniper rifle and do extremely well. The customization in this game was actually really, really good. Better than any Call of Duty we've ever seen. You can modify your outfit, your gender. If you play Clan Wars, you got all those, extra uniforms and stuff that you could use. So you could really customize a lot, at least a lot more than any other Call of Duty. It's still, I know, not to the level that I think we're going to see in Advanced Warfare, but overall, it was definitely really, really good. Support, heavy duty, and spawns. So basically, what I mean here is I think the support for the game was pretty good. I know with a lot of patches came a little bit late, but they did come. They did listen to the feedback. I know that a lot of times, we get the game and it seems like it's unfinished, but in the hands of the developers and stuff, they don't probably think the same way that we do because we play the game a lot more. We put a lot more time into it. We've played other Call of Duties for hours and hours and days and days and days. And they can't test every single situation, and they don't know the mind of everyone. Now granted, they should know to not include things like danger close noob tubes. That should just be a given. But regardless, they did nerf stuff that they were supposed to. They buffed the guns that they were supposed to. And so I honestly think that the support from the developers was pretty good. Yes, I do think it could have been better and the stuff could have come a little bit faster, but the stuff that we wanted, it came, eventually. So that was pretty good. They also introduced some new stuff. A lot of people complained when the game first dropped about the time to kill and how fast you died. So they gave us heavy duty, and no one played it. Which I found so funny. So many people just that was one of their big turnoffs on Call of Duty Ghosts was the time to kill. And so they gave us a game mode with added health, and no one played it. So obviously it wasn't that big of a deal to people. And lastly, the spawns. Once again, this is kind of like a post-patch thing. The spawns at the beginning of the game, especially in Domination, were pretty crazy. But overall, I think they were pretty good. It got a little hectic sometimes depending on what your teammates were doing and if they were triple capped and stuff. There were a couple, times I can think of where you got really blatantly bad spawns where someone would spawn staring at you. That's unfortunate. You saw that a lot in Blitz because the spawns were extremely strong in that game. But I think like now and towards the end of Call of Duty Ghosts, you saw a pretty good spawning system. Definitely better. I think the Black Ops 2. I play Black Ops 2, and the spawns in that game are so awful, just absolutely awful. Just at least once a game, if you try and push the spawn, someone will spawn staring at you. It's horrible. And the spawns are extremely unpredictable. You'll have two teammates capping a flag, and they'll still be spawning on you. So I think the spawns are better than previous Call of Duties, and so I would say it's a good part of Call of Duty Ghosts. The game modes, I think we had some good game modes. I think Blitz was a good idea. I don't think it would have been a good substitute for Hardpoint in competitive. But overall, I think we had some good game modes. They tried some new stuff. They brought back Drop Zone and Infected and stuff, which I know a lot of people liked. And we also had 24/7 playlists that were accessible to everyone. I really like that they did that. And you see a lot of people. Oh, excuse me. You see a lot of people still on those 24-hour playlists. 24/7 Strike Zone had so many players in it. Same with Warhawk and Freight, the other one. That's what was. So I'm glad they brought those. Seem to be fan favorites. And lastly, the DLC. I know that everyone has said that the DLC map should have shipped with the game because they were smaller, more I guess Call of Duty-esque, you could say. But regardless, you can't disagree that the DLC was really good. We got two DLC guns, if I remember right. The Ripper and the Maverick, both of which were dual guns. So one was a sniper AR, and the other one was an SMG AR. Um, and so you had the option. Essentially, we had four guns out of the DLC plus all the maps, which I think is really really good. Not to mention the extinction. Now, granted, I didn't really play the extinction much. But I still think that the DLC was really good and some of the best that we've seen, to be honest. So, kudos to Ghost for that. Not to mention they had all the secret kill streaks for every single map. I think they were good. I think they really were. Um, now now we're gonna start getting into the negative stuff. That's all the good stuff I have. And for me, that really made Call of Duty Ghosts, and I think that made it, overall a really really good game. So I liked it. I enjoyed playing it. I wish more people thought the same way that I did. But now it is time to get into the bad and the ugly. So we're going to start with the bad section. And once again, we're going to go into maps. I know we already talked about this. In my notes, I have maps with an asterisk. So basically, maps, these are the ones I'm talking about that everyone hates. Chasm and Flooded and Siege. Siege actually really wasn't that bad. As long as people didn't just camp on their spawn. That was another map that was a traditional 3-lane map. And what's the other one? Maybe it's Stormfront. But yeah, those were some really bad maps, and they played really slow if you played against the wrong people. Like I said before, though, guys, like every map can be slow if you play against the wrong people. It doesn't matter how small the map is. It all depends on the people you're playing against. But those maps were still a little bit too slow paced and a little bit too big for 6v6 game modes. And I do wish those would have been removed. The bullets to kill or the time to kill. I think it was okay. I don't think it was bad. But it would have been nice if it would have taken maybe one or two extra bullets to kill. The connection was really good, like I said, and I think the difference between this Call of Duty and other Call of Duties was that instead of the lag compensation making it take more bullets to kill, it took less for you to kill, if that makes sense. So basically, you got some melty deaths, like I said. So maybe it would have been a little bit helpful to add one or two more bullets to kill. And I know that really drove a lot of people away, especially, you know, kind of the flip side about, a lot of people say that Call of Duty Ghosts doesn't have a skill gap because it's so easy to kill people. On the flip side of that, you also have that, it kind of creates a bigger skill gap, because you have to get on target really, really quickly, and you have to be really, really uh, quick and have really good aim in order to snap onto your target and get those first couple bullets so you can secure the kill. Um, but if someone's playing campy in a corner, you don't really have the time to react. So, adding that 1 to 2 extra bullets, I think would have helped and would have kept a lot of people in the player base. Let's see, the pre-patch IED. Oh, oh. Let's have a moment of silence for all the people who died to the pre-patch IED. Whoever thought of essentially a claymore that you can stick on the ceiling was absolutely retarded. Just it was an awful idea. It was implemented poorly, and until it was patched, it was just god awful. You would die so much that it wasn't too big of a deal in domination, but you definitely saw that. You definitely saw that a lot in TDM and Kill Confirmed, and there really wasn't too much of a counter to it. You pretty much had to run blast shield if you didn't want to die to an IED. Post patch, I think they were fine. You just jumped or drop shotted or did whatever, and it would be fine. You hardly ever die from an IED anymore, unless they have danger close, which we're getting to. The unlock system, I think the unlock system in this game was really, really bad. Um, it wasn't game breaking, but the whole squad point thing, I think once you hit your max level for that prestige, you shouldn't have kept earning squad points, because basically what happened is if you just kept playing, you would just earn more and more squad points. And then when you did prestige, you could have the exact same class that you had and all the guns and all the perks that you wanted, from level 1. I remember I prestiged, I bought the class setup I wanted, and I got a KEM strike on my first level. It doesn't give you that sense of accomplishment. It doesn't give you that grind feeling that a lot of other Call of Duties did, where you had to really push to grind through the levels to get the perks and the guns and stuff you wanted. So I think they definitely could have improved on that. Let's see, noob attachments. This is where the M27 comes into play. M27 with a thermal or with a tracker sight, or pretty much any gun with a thermal or tracker sight. When you give people sights that just either light people up or give them a giant glow where you can basically see them around a corner, that's retarded, and it doesn't help the game. It doesn't add any value to it. I know some of the maps were a little bit dark, but not enough to where you would need a thermal sight to, make someone completely white for you to see. And it just adds to the noob factor of the game. I know that they have to market to people who haven't played the game before, so it's pretty easy to pick up. But I think stuff like that, in the hands of the wrong people, it just creates an awful game. Sometimes you have just awful matches where it's just nothing but M27 line prone, or a BKS thermal sight or something like that. We just we don't need that stuff in Call of Duty. Just leave it out. Just leave it out. It just slows the game down. Stuff like that really does, because it definitely doesn't promote movement because you have no peripheral vision, and it's hard to use stalker on stuff like that. So people just sit in a corner and aim down sight and look for something that glows to pop up in their screen. Then they shoot it and they die. So noob attachment's definitely bad. That actually probably should have gone under the ugly section. But anyway, moving on. I know we talked about. I know I just talked about some of the game modes that they implemented, which I think were good, but I think there were too many game modes, and a lack of ground war I think also hurt this game. Even though I'm not really a ground war player myself, I think that having ground war on the current gen consoles would have kept a lot of the player base here, and also would have kept a lot of the parties out of some of the game modes. Just let the sweaty sweat it out in ground war. Uh, and you just had, there was like two versions of domination. There's two versions of search and destroy, stuff like that we don't really need. Just keep it simple, knock out some of those, other random game modes, and keep, the player bases in just a few amount of game modes. That'll provide, more players, better connection, which moves me on to my next point, the matchmaking system. This was so annoying to me, especially once you got towards the end of Call of Duty Ghost Life Cycle, where there weren't many people playing, there are so many times where like, I'll be in a match or in a pregame lobby and I don't really feel like playing the map or playing against, a bunch of like campy guys or a bunch of sweaty ass tryhards or a full party, whatever the case may be. So I decided I want to back out and try a new lobby, and it'll just keep putting me back into the same lobby over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes like 10, 15 times in a row, eventually to the point where I'll just say screw it and I'll try a different game mode and try and come back later. That's really obnoxious because you just want to hop, if you want to go into a different game, you just want to hop out and hop right back into a different game. So that was really annoying. Um, and now we're on to the very last section, the part that I'm sure you guys all want to hear about, because like I said, I do my best to stay positive on this channel. And so I try not to rant, but this stuff really, really irked me, and a lot of times would make me, these were the, 5 or 6 things that really made me just rage quit games. If it happened, I was fucking done. I was out. I couldn't take it. And this is the stuff that would make me hop off and play Black Ops 2 or play Madden or whatever. Uh, okay, so the first thing is Riley. Riley is the worst idea that anyone has ever come up with, maybe comparable to the IED. Essentially, it's a death streak. It is a kill streak that you have to quote unquote earn at 4 kills with hardline, and you can sit in a corner. There's no way to know if they're there. Every now and then you'll hear it growl, but you don't really know where it's coming from. And as soon as you walk around the corner, it'll lunge you from 10 feet away and you're dead. It has, I think, 3 times the health of a normal player. And like I said, like it just has this instant lunge where you can't kill it in midair. And so you put a couple bullets into it and then you're dead. Say the guy you kill from Riley, he spawns on the other side of the map. You're running across the map. Riley tries to go get back to his owner, and he kills 5 people along the way, and you have no idea even why he's there. Um, just a commando lunge dog that is almost impossible to kill. Awful idea. I think it could have been balanced out if it either had less health or if it had a timer on it, like the sentry gun or something like that. I think that would have been a good way to kind of balance it out. Give it like a 20-second timer or a even like a 90-second time or something like that. Just something where like, after a certain amount of time, it leaves its owner, runs off the map or whatever, and that's done. I think that would have been really good, but oh, that fucking dog killed me off so many streaks. I hate you, Riley. I hate you. Which also leads me to just the kill streaks in general in this game were pretty poor. They were boring. The high kill streaks weren't worth it. Um, even the Loki, even after they patched it, I don't think I've ever used the Loki. You want to know why? Because it doesn't seem exciting. It doesn't give you a lot of kills. I don't remember what it is. I think it's like a 12 or 15 point streak. For a 15-point streak, I mean, that's like the equivalent to a swarm. You should get 20 kills out of Loki, and I'm pretty sure that has never happened. So the kill streaks, they just weren't fun. You pretty much just ran the low streaks, and they never picked you up any kills, and that's the point of kill streaks, is to get you kills. So, I have to say they did a really piss poor job with the kill streaks. Next, we have the dreaded Danger Close. Once again, a developer puts Danger Close into a game, and it's just fucking terrible. Especially during clan wars, you saw this a lot. People would just have a class with Danger Close. They would have a gun with the underbarrel, noob tube, and then they would switch to the whatever it was. Start with a K. It was like the ketchup grenade launcher or something. I don't know. And they would just sit there and just spam Danger Close noob tubes. And I think the one thing that really, really hurt the game when it came to this is that blast shield wouldn't help you. Maybe if it was like a really distant impact, it would help out and keep you alive. But anything close to your body that would explode, if it had danger close, didn't matter if you were wearing blast shield or not, you were dead. And that, I mean, that's a broken perk right there. Danger close was an awful idea. It's never been a good idea. It never will be a good idea. And that definitely goes in the ugly category. To me, that was probably the worst thing in Call of Duty ever. Especially since we've seen it multiple games. Just leave it out. I really hope that in Advanced Warfare, it does absolutely nothing. Flak Jacket counters it, or they just eventually decide to remove it from the game. All right, I promise we're almost done. Let's see, support. the oracles, and the pre-patch squad mates. So just support in general, I think, is a really bad idea. Just new players use it. You know, the streaks are practically better than running assault, and you don't really have to earn them. You just have to casually pick up kills. The oracle, it wasn't so bad when the game first came out, and you didn't really see it too often. But now everyone runs support. Everyone runs support, I feel like, and everyone runs an oracle. You know, I don't think I had to run blind eye until the very last probably month of Call of Duty Ghosts, but I just got so tired of the oracles, I finally had to throw it on. um, at first I didn't really think it was so OP, but so many people run it, that you know, you pretty much get tracked through walls the entire game. So definitely not a good idea. I wish they would have left it out. I wish they would have left support out, but they did, which also leads me to the squad mates in support. Pre-patch, they had ballistic vest, they had perfect aim, they could knife you, they were smarter than most players, and you know, like it's just like Rally. They were impossible to kill, and you know, they would just use your shield. You try and dump, you know, a full load of ammo into them, and then because of their ballistic vest, they survived, and they just whip out a pistol and two shots you across the map. So you know, good job on that idea. Luckily, they patched that, um, so that was, you know, they're so much easier to kill now, and they're not near as deadly. They are a support streak, which is good. Um, Oh, let's see. Clan Wars. Clan Wars was by far the most frustrating thing for me in Call of Duty. I know I've mentioned Riley, and every time I mention stuff like this, I say it was probably the most frustrating thing. But I would literally not play Call of Duty Ghosts for, you know, the entire week of Clan Wars or whatever. It would make me so mad because there were so many clans who played, and it never seemed like they played each other because I was always on the team of random, you know, dipshits with no thumbs playing against a full six-man party who are trying to spawn trap you and running support, running oracles, running squad mates and B-vests and stuff. It's just, it was so obnoxious. It should have been in its own playlist where clans played other clans for rewards. That's how it should have been. You know, the only good thing I can say that came out of Clan Wars was that every now and then you would pull off that like 2 point victory in the last second, carry your team to victory with like 15 caps and like 80 kills. And I did get enjoyment out of that, but I just don't have fun sweating all the time like some people do. And so Clan Wars for me was just probably one of the worst things, if not the worst thing in Call of Duty Ghosts. And like I said, during Clan Wars for the most part, I just wouldn't play the game, or I would play free for all, and I don't really enjoy free for all, so that wasn't fun either. But lastly, the last thing I have, which a lot of people don't really think about, but you know, I just thought was really bad, was just the and this is gonna seem kind of random after everything else, but the color scheme. I just really disliked the colors in this game. It didn't add any excitement to the game. It didn't add anything fun. Didn't give you anything visually stimulating to look at while you're, you know, staring at the screen for hours on end. And one of the worst things is, especially with incognito, people would blend into bushes and trees and a bunch of random shit. It was so obnoxious. You know, you would have maps with like super dark corners where people like to camp, and I just wish they would have brightened it up, made it a little bit more fresh. You know, add a few more bright colors. I know that this is like a war game and stuff, and you know, it's not supposed to be pretty, but it's also an arcade shooter, so it's okay to make it pretty at least a little bit. Um, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Once again, I really hope, I know this was a really long video, and I know most of you guys haven't made it this far. But if you did, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Even if you don't like Call of Duty Ghosts, I hope maybe I at least gave you some insight onto why I kept playing this game and why I really enjoyed it and kept posting it throughout its life cycle when I know a lot of people kind of abandon it. Overall, I would rank this among my top three favorite Call of Duties. Probably COD 4, and then probably this game. I would say this is probably my second favorite Call of Duty. I had a lot of fun, you know, tons of KEM strikes, really beast games. You know, I got my first double KEM. You know, a lot of firsts in this game. I had a lot of fun. I just think it was a good game. I know in Black Ops 2, I made a video saying the one thing I wanted out of Call of Duty Ghosts, and I said the one thing I wanted was a game with a good connection. Everything else was, second to that. And what did I get? I got a game with good connection, and lo and behold, I really, really enjoyed it, and I played it, and I loved it. I wish more people did. If Advanced Warfare sucks, I probably will come back to Call of Duty Ghosts, to be honest, like I did when Black Ops 2 sucked, and I went back to Modern Warfare 3. Even if there's 10 people online, I'll still probably play the shit out of this game. I really didn't enjoy it that much, but anyway, that's 35-minute commentary. I don't think I've ever talked for this long, but anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did and you made it this far, make sure to leave a like. If you hated it, then just go ahead and dislike the shit out of it. Leave a comment down below on your thoughts and your opinions on what I had to talk about. Make sure to check all the links below in the description. Subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.